Tony threatened to hurt Luis's daughter if he missed a payment. 6 weeks later, Tony was in handcuffs. Luis's lawyer never raised his voice. He just sent one letter. Luis did everything right. $34,000 saved, 0 debt. 26 years. That's what made him easy to destroy. Because predators don't look for reckless people. They look for people who have something to lose. And Luis had everything to lose. That's why when his daughter needed surgery at 2 a.m., he was exactly where Tony needed him to be. And that's how I found Luis, sitting at my kitchen table, hands shaking, owing a man he'd never heard of $21,800. One quick question before I tell you the full story. Where are you watching from? Drop it below. Houston, Nairobi, Manila, doesn't matter. I read them. And if you're not subscribed, Luis's story isn't the last one. There are more families, more Tonys, more letters that need to be sent. Stay close. Luis sat across from me at my kitchen table. His hands were shaking. Rosa, I borrowed $5,000. He swallowed. Now he says I owe him $21,800, and he knows where my daughter works. That's when I understood. This wasn't debt. This was leverage, and someone was squeezing hard. I'm going to show you exactly how $5,000 almost destroyed a family and exactly how we stopped it. But to understand the trap, you have to see how carefully it was built. Because this story doesn't start with greed, it starts with love. Luis came to Houston in 1998 with one suitcase. Construction worker, roofing in August heat, framing in freezing rain, missed birthdays, missed Christmas mornings, never missed a bill. After 10 years of saying no to everything, no vacations, no restaurants, no new furniture, he and Maria had saved $34,000. 10 years, $34,000. That was the down payment. That was the house. That was freedom. Then March 2024 happened. It is 2:03 a.m. Isabella wakes up. Maria rushes her to the ER. Luis arrives 30 minutes later. The doctor doesn't waste time. There's a growth. It needs to come out. Luis asks one question. Is she going to be okay? Yes. Then billing walks in. We need a $12,000 deposit before surgery. $12,000 for a procedure that would last 90 minutes? Luis checks his phone. $1,217 in checking. They have $34,000 in savings. 10 years of sacrifice. Maria says, use the house money. Luis says, that's our future. Maria says, she is our future. And that's how traps begin. Not with greed, with love. Luis pulls $10,000 from savings, borrows $1,000 from his boss, $500 from his brother. Still short, still scared. Surgery in 9 days. That's when Raul pulls him aside. There's a guy. Fast cash. No credit check. Luis hesitates, but time doesn't. He calls Tony. Tony answers immediately. How much? $5,000. 15% interest. 6 months. Very simple. Luis thinks per year. Tony doesn't correct him. They meet at Starbucks. Tony wears a tailored navy suit, leather briefcase, calm smile. He slides a contract across the table. $5,000 principal, sign here. Luis starts reading. Tony checks his watch. I have another meeting. Smile. Everyone signs it. Luis signs. And in that moment, the trap closes. 1 week later, Tony calls. Your first payment is due Friday. How much? $750. Silence. $750 per week. Luis freezes. Per week? Yes, that's 15%. 15%. Per week. That's 780% per year. If he pays for 6 months, he will owe more than $24,000 on $5,000. That's not interest. That's extraction. Every Friday, $750 cash. Parking lot. Black Cadillac. Tony counting bills slowly. Luis works 7 days a week. Stops eating lunch. loses 18 pounds, blood pressure 160/110. Doctor says, you're headed for a heart attack. At home, rice and beans every night. Isabella notices. Papa, this is because of me, isn't it? He lies. Then he doesn't. I borrowed money. She cries. He says, I would do it again. And that's the problem. By the end of May, Luis has paid $11,250 on a $5,000 loan. He calls Tony. How much do I still owe? Tony answers calmly. $21,800. Luis can't breathe. That's impossible. That's compound interest. And if you stop paying, I know where Isabella works. Spring Branch Elementary. I know where you live. Calm voice. Worse than yelling. It would be a shame if something happened. Tony shows up at the construction site. No helmet, no vest, just power. Luis, you're late! 20 men stop working. Hammers silent. Tony shouts, You owe me money! Luis's boss pulls him aside. If this continues, I'll have to let you go. Now it's not just debt. It's livelihood. Carlos corners him. Tell me the truth. Luis breaks. Carlos says one sentence that changes everything. My cousin knows someone. That someone was me. Luis sits at my kitchen table, hand shaking, shows me the contract. 47 threatening messages. I read it once, twice, 3 times. Then I look up. Luis, this is illegal. He says, but I signed it. I say, I don't care. Public Library. Texas Finance Code, Chapter 342, Unlicensed Lenders, Maximum Interest, 10% per year. Tony charged 780%, 78 times the legal limit. The contract wasn't aggressive. It was void. Luis didn't owe him $1. David Klein listens quietly, then says, Luis, you owe him nothing. Silence. Not $1. Luis breaks down. 3 months of fear, gone in a sentence. But then, what about the money I already paid? Harder, but not impossible. Cease and desist letter sent. Tony calls. You think a lawyer scares me? For 1 second, I wondered if we were wrong. We weren't. Mr. Klein calls Tony directly. After that, silence. And silence from a predator means pressure. Attorney General opens investigation. 5 counts of criminal usury. 3 counts of terroristic threats. Tony pleads guilty. 18 months jail. 3 years probation. Restitution ordered. Luis gets back $9,600. Not all, but enough. Luis holds the check, cries. Maria says, Doctor first. He laughs. They put the rest back into savings. Today, they have $38,000, more than before. Isabella is healthy, engaged, planning her wedding. And every few months, Luis brings tamales, sits at my table, and says, You saved me. I tell him the truth. You asked for help. That saved you. Predators rely on shame. They rely on silence. They rely on you thinking, I signed it. It's my fault. It's not. There are laws. There are lawyers. There are people who fight back. Luis thought he had no options. He was wrong. And if you ever feel trapped, you might be wrong too. If this story hit you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever made a decision out of desperation? And if you're carrying something heavy right now, don't carry it alone. Subscribe. I'll be here.